Most people think silence means weakness. It doesn't. Silence is what you choose when you're done asking for permission. When you stop explaining your plans, stop proving your worth, stop reacting to people who don't matter, that's when things start changing. Quietly. And that scares people more than noise ever could. Silence is misunderstood because the world is addicted to explanations. From a young age, you're trained to justify yourself. Why did you choose this path? Why are you different? Why are you not following the crowd? And over time, you start believing that if you don't explain, you'll be forgotten. But powerful people learn something most never do. The moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment your energy comes back. You realize you were leaking power every time you tried to convince someone who had already decided not to understand you. Silence isn't passive, it's deliberate, it's discipline, it's the decision to move in alignment instead of approval. The strongest people aren't loud because they don't need to be. They don't need validation, they don't need applause before action. They know who they are when nobody is watching, and that's enough. The world confuses calm with weakness because calm doesn't beg for attention. But calm is dangerous. Calm means control. Calm means you've already fought the battle internally and won. When you're silent, people project their fears onto you. They assume you're unsure, scared, or lost. What they don't realize is that silence often means you're thinking 10 steps ahead. It means you've learned that not every thought deserves a response, and not every opinion deserves access to your energy. Powerful people stop explaining themselves because they understand a hard truth. Explanations don't earn respect, results do. You can talk for hours and still be doubted, or you can stay quiet and let your actions speak in a language nobody can interrupt. Silence sharpens focus. It removes distraction. It forces you to listen instead of perform. And in that space, clarity grows. You start hearing your own voice instead of the noise of expectations. That's where confidence is built, not on stages, not in arguments, but in solitude. When you stop explaining, you also stop negotiating your worth. You stop shrinking your dreams so they sound reasonable to small minds. You stop lowering your standards to make others comfortable. Silence becomes a filter. Only those who truly matter stay. Everyone else fades. And that's not loss, that's alignment. Powerful people know timing is everything. They don't announce every move because they understand momentum dies when exposed too early. Not everyone needs to know what you're building while you're building it. Some people only understand success once it's visible, and that's fine. Silence protects vision. It gives your goals room to grow without interference, doubt, or sabotage. There's also a deeper reason. Silence unsettles people. It removes control. When you don't explain yourself, others can't categorize you. They can't predict you. They can't manipulate you through guilt or expectation. Silence makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. The world is full of people who talk themselves out of greatness by explaining too much. They explain their delays, their fears, their compromises. Powerful people don't do that. They move, they adapt, they execute, and they let time answer the questions they refuse to entertain. Silence is not avoidance, it's maturity. It's knowing when speaking adds nothing and restraint adds everything. It's choosing progress over popularity. As this part ends, understand this discomfort you feel when you stop explaining is not a sign something is wrong. It's a signal you're stepping out of an old identity. In the next part, you'll see why this discomfort appears right before real growth and why most people mislabel it as depression right before everything changes. The discomfort that shows up when you stop explaining yourself doesn't come from silence itself. It comes from separation. You are separating from an old version of yourself that survived by being understood, accepted, and approved. For years, your nervous system learned that safety came from agreement, that if people nodded, smiled, or validated you, then you were okay. So when you withdraw explanations, your mind panics. It tells you something is wrong. It whispers that you're becoming distant, cold, or broken. But that discomfort is not weakness. It's withdrawal from dependency. Growth always feels like loss before it feels like freedom. Powerful people recognize this moment because they've lived it. They understand that when you stop explaining, you stop feeding the emotional economy around you. People who benefited from your openness, your overcommunication, your justifications, suddenly feel threatened. They ask questions that aren't really questions. They probe, they poke, they accuse you of changing. What they're really saying is, you're no longer predictable, and that scares them. And here's the truth. Most people never hear. Every real upgrade in life comes with a phase where you feel misunderstood, isolated, and uncomfortable. Not because you're broken, but because your old environment no longer fits your new standards. This is where most people quit. They mistake the silence for emptiness. They label the discomfort as depression. But powerful people pause instead of panicking. They sit with the silence long enough to hear what it's teaching them. And what it teaches is simple but brutal. You were never meant to explain your evolution to people committed to your past. When you stop explaining, your mind finally has space to rewire. You're no longer rehearsing arguments that will never change anyone's mind. You're no longer wasting energy translating your vision into language small enough for others to accept. That energy turns inward. It sharpens awareness. You begin noticing patterns you ignored before. The way certain conversations drain you. The way certain relationships rely on your self-doubt to function. The way your own habits were shaped by fear of judgment. This awareness feels heavy at first. That's why people call it darkness. But darkness is just unprocessed truth. And truth is uncomfortable before it's liberating. Powerful people don't rush to escape this phase. They understand that clarity comes after discomfort, not before it. This is the pattern most people never see. Right before a breakthrough, motivation drops. Confidence feels quiet instead of loud. The hunger for validation disappears, but purpose hasn't fully arrived yet. You're in between identities, and the mind hates in between spaces. It wants labels, it wants certainty, it wants noise. But growth demands patience. Silence becomes a training ground. You learn emotional control. You learn restraint. You learn that you don't owe everyone access to your thoughts. You don't owe the world a running commentary on your healing. This is where discipline is built, not in motivation, but in stillness. You start responding instead of reacting. You start choosing your words carefully or not at all. And something shifts. People begin treating you differently, not because you announced a change, but because energy doesn't lie. They sense the boundary even if you never spoke it. Some will respect it, some will resent it. That reaction tells you everything you need to know. Powerful people accept that not everyone comes with them to the next level. They stop trying to drag people forward with explanations. They walk alone if necessary, because they've learned another hard truth. Loneliness during growth is temporary. Regret from staying small is permanent. The silence you're in right now is not a void. It's construction. Old beliefs are being dismantled. Old fears are losing authority. That's why it feels unstable. You're not falling apart. You're being restructured. And this is the exact point where most people turn back, because it feels easier to explain than to endure. But those who stay silent, who stay disciplined, who resist the urge to justify themselves, step into a different level of control. In the next part, you'll see how this silence turns into authority, how it reshapes how people see you, and why those who master it never need to explain themselves again. When silence is sustained long enough, it stops feeling like absence and starts becoming authority. This is the final shift most people never reach. At first, silence feels defensive, like you're holding something back. But over time, it becomes magnetic. People begin to lean in. They listen differently. They watch your movements more closely because you've removed the noise that made you easy to ignore. Powerful people don't command rooms by speaking first. They command rooms by not needing to. Their presence carries weight because it's grounded in certainty, not performance. This is what happens when you've stopped explaining yourself for long enough that your identity stabilizes. You no longer feel the impulse to clarify who you are, what you want, or where you're going. Your actions are consistent, your boundaries are quiet, and your standards are non-negotiable. That consistency creates trust, even among those who don't fully understand you. Silence at this stage becomes a signal. It tells the world you are not available for confusion, chaos, or cheap opinions. People sense that engaging with you requires intention. This is why authority doesn't come from volume. It comes from restraint. The moment you stop filling every gap with words, others project significance onto you. Not because you demanded it, but because humans are wired to respect what isn't easily accessed. Scarcity creates value, and your attention is the most valuable resource you have. Powerful people protect it ruthlessly. They don't argue online, they don't chase misunderstandings, they don't rush to correct every false assumption, they understand something deeper. Time always reveals the truth more effectively than explanations ever could. When you operate from this place, relationships change. Conversations become sharper. People either rise to meet your level or remove themselves. Both outcomes are wins. You stop attracting chaos because chaos feeds on reaction. You stop attracting manipulation because manipulation needs emotional openings. Silence closes those doors without confrontation. And in that quiet control, confidence matures. Not the loud, fragile confidence that needs to be seen, but the grounded kind that doesn't need witnesses. This is also where leadership is born. Real leaders don't overshare their vision. They execute it. They don't motivate with words alone. They embody discipline so clearly that others feel compelled to follow. Silence allows you to move strategically. It gives you the advantage of observation. While others talk, you notice patterns. While others react, you prepare. And preparation beats explanation every single time. Eventually, people stop asking why you're different. They start asking how. That's when you know the shift is complete. You're no longer trying to be understood. You're being recognized. This level is uncomfortable because it requires letting go of the need to be liked. But powerful people accept that respect and popularity rarely coexist at high levels. They choose respect. They choose alignment. They choose long-term control over short-term comfort. And here's the final truth. Silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you've learned when saying nothing says more. It means you trust your process enough not to narrate it. It means you've outgrown the version of yourself that needed permission. This is where discipline becomes identity. This is where presence becomes power. This is where explanations end and impact begins. Before this video ends, it's important to be clear. This content is created for motivational and educational purposes only. This video is not affiliated with or endorsed by Denzel Washington in any way. The voiceover, visuals, and presentation in this video are fully AI generated and intended to inspire personal growth, not to represent any real individual. If this message resonated with you, if it challenged the way you see silence, power, and self-control, don't let it end here. Like this video to support the channel, subscribe if you want more high-impact motivational content, and press the bell notification so you don't miss our next powerful video. Stay disciplined, stay focused, and remember, you don't need to explain who you're becoming. Let the results speak.